Ramona, it's good to finally get you back on for a show, but now this time it's going to be a series. You know, you were recently called up by the UFC, not signed by the UFC, but called up by the UFC, which is a peculiar predicament for when you explain to people what you're doing right now in Shanghai. So can you kind of clarify like what exactly happened? How were you contacted?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of there's a bit of confusion there because this kind of thing's just never been done. So kind of telling people I'm involved with the UFC now, they kind of assume that you're signed, which I'm not. And what they're basically doing is this UFC Academy. That's the first developmental program ever done basically in MMA. So no other promotions ever invested into, you know, a purely educational program to develop fighters. Also because it takes a lot of resources to do this, so it's understandable. So, what they're doing is, they had 50 of us, and then they selected 25 out of the 50 after this 2-day combine. And so basically for the next 6 months, 26 of us are going to be at the new UFC Performance Institute in Shanghai, taking advantage of the coaching staff that they have. We've got Dean Amasinger from the UK. We've got Richie from Australia, and then Forrest Griffin's also here. There's Richie Walsh, and Forrest Griffin's also here for a little bit. So, the best coaches. We've got these very high level performance coaches as well that have worked with Olympics, physios, and just the facilities. Obviously, the people have been seeing that, and 6 months to really try to develop our potential, and make us hopefully fit to eventually sign with the UFC to develop the sport in this market where I think a lot of promotions are sort of racing to get to China. And how I got into this, a teammate of mine who actually just recently fought in Bellator last night. Shout out Terry Brazier, he killed it. So he is from the UK, and he's Dean Amasinger's student. So when Dean came over here, he was looking for Chinese fighters, and they were having a chat. And then Terry was out in Phuket with me, and he said, "Hey, I have this teammate of mine. She's Chinese, and she's unsigned, looking, on the lookout for opportunities. She would be great for you guys to kind of, take a look at." And so had all my information sent over, and they were basically looking for Chinese fighters, and I would have been the only representative from Hong Kong. And so I got that. I had a chat with him about 3 to 4 weeks before I came out here, and we got everything sorted out. And so yeah, I had a little bit of time to prepare, try to get my fitness up because I knew that there was going to be this combine with fitness testing, and then I just made my way out here a couple weeks ago.
You go to the combine, right? When you first land in Shanghai and you first see the the facility, right? Because the combine didn't start right away. You actually got to experience the facility for a little while. How did you feel about what's in there, and what? Yeah, like how did you feel when you first arrived in the facility and you started walking around? What were the emotions like?
Yeah, man. So they gathered all of us together. They gathered all of us together for a tour. Kind of just had all the coaches there, like ready to take us through. It was a very official kind of thing, and the Vegas PI is a certain way and like a certain level, and so you kind of I kind of was like, oh, I kind of know what to expect in terms of like this is going to be like a incredible state of the art facility, and people that had seen it were also talking about how incredible it was, but they're also kind of at a loss for words, and they'll be like, okay, you'll know when you see it. And so we get there, and it's just incredible. First of all, like we're greeted, the whole group is greeted by Forrest Griffin. We go in there, and it's all brand new, like brand new equipment. Everything is super clean. Like all the colors are popping. No one's even like stepped foot into certain areas, and it blew my mind. And I think just for everyone else, it was just the sheer size of it. It's massive. It's huge. And then it's like having, two cages, like 20, I think like 25 feet, which is like and the official UFC size is 30 feet. So they have two of those. They have like a huge boxing ring. They've got a bag area. They've got this huge matted space, like massive. That's the size. It could be like that mat space could have been half of that could have been like one gym, you know? And then they're like that cafe with like all the, you know, the grill and all the healthy food in the salad bar. And then you have the hydrotherapy. Like, I mean, that's probably my favorite. The hydrotherapy room where you have the hot cold plunge, the steam room and sauna and underwater treadmill and this like kind of swimming treadmill pool thing. And the what is that? That capsule. Oh, it's gonna come to me, but it's you have the cryotherapy chamber as well. Um, you have the whole strength conditioning area that's like brand new. That's got all kinds of gadgets that I haven't even seen myself. The PT studio or physical therapy. You've got all kinds of equipment and gear. The flotation tank. Oh, that's what I forgot. That's crazy. I haven't used that yet, but it's on my list. You know, it just got everything you can possibly need in an athletic facility. Like we wouldn't if they had rooms there for us to stay in, we wouldn't need to leave. You know, like they had this relaxation lounge with like a TV and Xbox and this napping pod. They've got this refreshment zone where they like custom make our protein shakes for us, and they've got snacks and fruits and water and anything we could possibly need, you know, in between trainings, during, in the middle of trainings, like before, after. Um, so it's just fully equipped. And from what I hear, I mean, I've never really been to any like anything this advanced or any Olympic level, training facility, but we have coaches that have worked with Olympic athletes in these facilities. And even they say like, this is high up there, like state of the art, you know? And so, it's, you kind of can't believe it when you walk in there and you see all this. You're like, this can't be real. Like this has to be this like fake set because it's just so perfect, you know. Um, literally, there's like nothing wrong with it, like nothing. And it's like every single detail, every single corner of every single room has been like fully thought through. And you just kind of want to try everything. Like you literally like you're at an MMA amusement park, you know. And so it was just kind of larger than life, like unbelievable, and just kind of such a shock. Of course, like I was like there, like grabbing everything, you know. I'm like, oh my god, like maybe I won't be here next week. Like I gotta get this all on my phone. But yeah, it's just an incredible feeling. Like it's like Christmas for like times 10.
Yeah, after going through that initial, I guess, a little bit of shock, going through the facility and everything, and then you will have to go through the combine a few days later. Before you went, you know, before you started the combine, the night before, you've been through a lot in your life so far, and anxiety is always a factor in everything you do because you're a fighter. But were you more nervous the night before the combine than any fight or anything that you've been through in your life?
I think I was able to manage the nerves okay. Well, here's the thing, like the 3 days leading up to the combine, we did do some training and like preparation for the event. And so a lot of the things that um we trained was just mimicking what would be at the combine. So in that respect, it was like we know exactly what we're going to do. Also, there was no sparring whatsoever. There was no direct competition with someone else. Like it was purely like they just wanted to see your technique and your fitness. So it would be you would do wrestling takedowns, but with passive partners, or you would do jujitsu, submissions or escapes with passive partners. So there wasn't that there was less variables outside of your control, I guess you could say. With a fight, it's like you don't know what they're going to do and they could pull anything out. But this is all on you and like your personal performance and you being able to express your technical ability. So it wasn't too nerve-wracking. And I think also just being with that group, they were just so chill about it, all the other people that were there, and they're all young, right? So that also kind of helped, with kind of easing nerves and things like that. But definitely, as it happened though, like the night before was fine, but like the day it started, seeing all our names on this like projector screen board ranked by the points that we were getting in live time from each test that we would do on the combine was like pretty nerve wracking, because there'd be moments where like you're on the top and all of a sudden you're at the bottom. You don't know why, because they've kind of statistically just like, merged all the scores together, um, to sort of populate everyone's data or your own personal data, and then rank you, um, as where you were within like that group of like 45 or something. So I think it was only after it started, then the nerves kind of started to hit, because you're like, "Ooh, I really want to perfect this. I really want to do that." And so when you overthink things, you end up not really doing your best. And I feel like I kind of did that in the jiu-jitsu part. And there are certain things that I thought like, "Oh, I should have done better. Like I didn't do well, but then I did well." Or there are certain parts that I think I killed it, and then it's like, "No, you didn't do well." So it was kind of like, whoa. Then they rate you on like very specific things, so you don't know. It's like, should I go for speed and power, or should I go more for technique? Because they kind of tell you like you're going to be rated on speed, technique, and power, but then they actually weight you more on like maybe technique, and you're like, oh, maybe I should have like saved more power to just show more technique, kind of thing. So there's a bit of that, and also in some of the fitness tests, um, you didn't know what it was going to be, because obviously in a combine, like they're going to be using the same testing protocol for all the combines to come. And so it's people are going to be able to actually prepare specifically for these tests. But we were the first group, so there was no way for us to know until we actually were there to experience it ourselves. So I think, you do not so good in one, and then you kind of be kind of down on it, and you try not to let that feeling kind of, affect your performance in the next one, because you might fail it, you might not do good in one, and then you're just going to kill it in the next one, depending on your strengths, because different tests were good for different body types and things like that. They also take into consideration your weight class. So if you're a bigger weight class, they also, they weight your points based on the fact that you're bigger. So you wouldn't be like directly ranked against someone else's points. Like they weight it. Or whether you're male or female, they take that in consideration as well when they do the overall ranking. So, those 2 days were definitely like a roller coaster of up and down. And I feel like I was like the last at one point in the morning, like of the first day, and I was like, oh my God, like this is way harder than I thought. And then I ended up being second at the end of that day, and then also second at the very end of the second day, for the whole thing. But it was yeah, there were nerves there, definitely, because it was kind of like things that you weren't used to. Like you're used to just like being able to spar or fight and then show them your technique under pressure. That's kind of the whole point. And that you'd think that most directly mimics like fighting and how you would fight, but this was just very different in how they measure you, and so you had to really prepare specifically for that, and just well, how many jujitsu techniques do I know from close guard? How many sweeps do I know? How many escapes do I know? How many wrestling takedowns do I know? And you just try to make it look as perfect as you possibly can. And for the testing, like 3 minutes on the bike, oh, it was basically just like how bad do you want it, because like your legs 30 seconds in and you want to slow down, but you've got 2.5 minutes left, and you're like pumping and pumping and pumping, and you just use out of body experience where you're beyond exhaustion, but you're just like your brain is just telling you to just go, 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 and lactic acid is just like pumping through your legs, and you're just so uncomfortable. Um, but it's like people are yelling, and they're like 3 cameras in your face, and like lights are there, and so crazy energy, freaking awesome experience. Like it was incredible, absolutely incredible. Um, and I'm just really thankful that I was able to experience all of that with all the ups and downs.
Did they select the people on the board that had the highest points, or was there another process behind doors that they went through to kind of select, you and the others to go further with this 6-month program?
So the combine was really for them to. It was a it played a big part definitely in decision making, but it was ultimately coach's choice. So obviously they were also going to take into they weren't really just going to look at the board and say, okay, the top 25 people we're going to take. They're also going to take into consideration a lot of other things. Like they really did their research on each of us. You know, they looked at all of our profiles, they looked at all of our past fights, they looked at how we won, how we lost, whether how long it's been since our last fight, when we got injured, what injury it was, how we're looking after that injury, looking at our age, looking at, you know, taking everything that we've, you know, that could possibly have to do with our career into consideration, and also, you know, coachability, because there are certain moments during the 3 days before the combine, the week before, where, you know, we also did a little bit of technique, and, you know, they wanted to see how you interact, how coachable you are, your learning attitude, you know. So it was a lot of other things as well as the combine results. Or, but generally the people that made it or in the top, you know, rankings, like generally they did make it.
When you're standing there and you got all these, I'm pretty sure they're probably like 20, 21 years old. They're from mainland China, deep in mainland China, right? They're coming from all different backgrounds. Who knows, you know, what kind of upbringing they've been through. And you're standing there next to them, and most of them probably most of them probably don't speak English, right?
As far as I know, none of them.
None of
I
them.
only
So
speak
like
no.
communicating with them, how is it? Because I've seen a little bit on your stories, and you seem to like get along with some of the your fellow. I don't even know what to call them. You know, your fellow academy
Teammates, yeah.
members. Yeah, teammates,
Yeah.
right? And so is it going to be tough? Because maybe it's not going to be tough because you've been through this before. You've been through it in Korea, where you went to another country that you didn't speak the language, and kind of got along with everybody. So, you know, is it better that they're really young? They're kind of more lighthearted, and they kind of look up to you a little bit because you do have more fights, or do they have more fights? I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's nothing like Korea because I don't speak Korean at all,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew nobody in Korea. So Korea is not really a culture that I didn't really grow up with many Koreans, you know, in
Mm-hmm.
school even. And so, you know, growing up, you know, at home I speak Fujian to my parents, Hokkien, as we would say. So, you know, I learned Mandarin in school, growing up in international schools, and we had to take that all throughout until we graduated high school, and then Cantonese a little bit just to get around. So, I do speak, you know, Mandarin, and I'm able to understand all of their conversations. Technical terms I might not be familiar with. And so I've been able to communicate with them fine. And if there's anything that I don't understand, I'll just ask them to maybe say it slower, or I'll have them just explain it to me, and they'll explain it in Mandarin and I'll understand it and just in a different way. So it's been very awesome actually. Like I get along very well. So I hang out obviously with the girls, all of us, you know, there's 5 of us. Well, 7 of us applied, girls. So the girl to guy ratio, obviously less competition for girls. And so there's 5 of us in the program now. And, you know, we all get along. I'm obviously the oldest. Everyone's like 19 to 24, just in general in the whole group. So culturally, obviously, there's a gap. You know, I grew up in Hong Kong, international, and, you know, a little Western. And so that allows me to also be able to communicate with the coaches really easily. But at the same time, like my Mandarin, just even being here, not even 2 weeks, has gotten a lot better already, you know, and it really just took some immersion and like a lot of time practicing. Um, but it's, yeah, you know, there's definitely that difference. But I'm really trying to learn as much as I can from them as well. You know, I don't know how many fights they've had, but, you know, a lot of them might not have so many pro fights, but say they've been training Sanda since they were like 10 years old, you know, and I only started fighting at 22. So, I mean, in terms of like competition time, like they might have the same or if not more competition experience than I have, in, you know, sort of different disciplines. And they're all really tough girls, you know, and it's great to be able to have MMA as our, you know, what we have in common, and have that kind of transcend our differences. But, you know, in terms of language, like we got on just fine. We understand each other just fine, and, you know, I'm really happy that I get to practice my Mandarin. And you know, they're a lot younger, but the age thing doesn't really come into play a lot, I guess. Um, I don't know. I don't know if it's because I act their age, but yeah, it's like I'm training with all these like especially the guys, like all these killers from across the nation, from like some of them inner Mongolia, like Tibet, like so much potential. Like these guys aren't even peaking, and they're super energetic, super sprightly, like so much potential, so quick, so fast, and you just have to work your ass off every day being there, and so it's they're bringing out the best in me for sure.
Monday, everything begins, right? Officially, the
Yeah.
program. What is the living situation like? I saw that you guys are not. You mentioned earlier that you're not staying at the PI, so you guys are staying maybe very close nearby, or what's going on with that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a 5-minute walk away. It's
Mm.
these sort of kind of service studios right around the corner. It's like, yeah, 5-minute walk, and it's nice actually. Like I think we all kind of expected that we'd be sharing rooms and like showers and all this kind of thing, but um, we're at this cool kind of workstation-y sort of like service apartment sort of situation where we all have our studio bedrooms, our own bathroom, our own bed, which is like freaking luxury. Oh, we have a washing machine in each of our rooms, which is like that is like top level right there. Like how many times we do laundry a day, and to have one in your room was like that's pretty luxury. So yeah, it's like it's great. Like we're all in one hall. It feels like college, all over again. And it's cool. It's convenient, like really close to the gym, and at least like you get to like it's not in the gym where you get to walk outside to get there, so you get some like time outside as well. Um, so that's a living situation. It's pretty. They really hooked us up.
Now, with the schedule that they have for you every day, have they given you a schedule? And do you like having this set schedule, or are you more of a person that likes to kind of do things on your own?
Yeah, yeah. There's a set schedule, so it's training. Typically, from what I understand, it'll be 9 to 11 is the first session, and then 2:30 to 4:30 is going to be the second one, Monday to Friday, and then Saturday we have one session, which I believe is going to be in the morning. I love the set schedule. Like I think it's it's also like get everyone together at the same time, and get everyone on the same schedule is absolutely is great. Like I'm the kind of person that loves structure and like order, and so scheduling and things like that is like awesome for me. And it's really like you're here for a 6-month program. You don't get to stay for a day longer than the 6 months, and so you really want to maximize the time that you have here. Like there's gonna you don't it's like in Phuket, like if you don't make it to practice, obviously you have to tell the coach why. Like it was something that I just never did. Like I don't skip practice unless I have a freaking good reason to do it. There'd just be other people that would be more lax about it that would skip practice just because they feel like it, they're feeling tired, whatever, whatever. But in this kind of environment, it's like that's just not something that you do. Like, and I don't see anyone, you know, planning on doing that. Like if you're injured, you're probably gonna show up just to watch anyway. And so it's like you make the most of this 6-month program, and you don't want to miss even one session. And so it's you also want to look good in front of the coaches, and know that they made the right choice investing in you. So I think the schedule is great. Having us train the way that we should, and all the coaches are communicating. So strength and conditioning is communicating with MMA, is communicating with physio, is communicating with with the nutritionist, and so everyone kind of knows what the goals are. And so you prevent overtraining, prevent injuries from happening. Clear communication means you're getting the best, pretty much, program that you can possibly be at, with everyone kind of optimizing for your progress, I guess.
Are they going to be documenting this whole 6 months of everybody going through this camp, this program?
Yeah, they do. They have well, I mean, in the past couple of weeks, they've had cameras around, obviously, because there's been events. I don't know how often they're gonna have cameras from here on out. I I'm gonna guess they will every so often. I think it really depends, but I really don't know what their plan is.
Well, I guess, it wouldn't bother you so much because you've been through all of that before. And I don't know about the other people in the program, but did you like it the first time around? I
Oh, it
think you
was
said you didn't like it too much.
um I know what you mean, like having cameras around when you're training.
Yeah.
I don't I I don't like it when there's like cameras around filming just me. Like I've had
Mhm.
sponsors do that before, and I understand why they do it, but it feels kind of like weird. Like I don't like being like, oh yeah, well, so she's got cameras on her, like kind of you kind of feel like an asshole. But having cameras around filming everybody, I think is like pretty dope. Like obviously everyone's gonna push hard, and I think it kind of brings the best out of everyone too. It's like you don't want to be caught slacking off. And usually the practices that are filmed are like usually the ones that, well, not always, but like, everyone always turns it up. So I don't mind that, but obviously I wouldn't want cameras on us like all the time. Like that would be kind of distracting. So I'm for certain they're not going to do that.
Practices in the morning and in the late afternoon, like in between that time, do you have things that you want to accomplish, other things, maybe I don't study. I don't know what your plans are, because it's like you're training, you're recovering, or you're doing whatever you want to do. So is there a kind of a set thing that you have in mind for the next 6 months?
Yeah, well, I brought a few books that I've brought these books everywhere. I even brought them to Phuket, but I'm not through them yet. So I definitely want to get my reading up. It's just kind of finding a balance because like there's going to be a certain point in the week where you're so overtrained that you're a little brain dead and you really have like no energy to want to like even interact with anyone or sit there read a book, and you kind of just want to put on like a show or whatever, which is not the greatest, but I try as much as I can to like put on podcasts. You know, the book reading, I'm scheduling like X number of hours a day to have to do, probably in the morning, before I get like way too tired. And also just trying to document and write about this experience. This will be my first week, and I'd like to do like a weekly kind of journal and check in, and just to write about my progress as well here, because I expect that I'll be progressing faster than I ever have anywhere else. And I really want to hold myself accountable to doing everything that I possibly can to maximize this, and that includes all the recovery stuff. Like even when I first got here, like I was using the hot cold plunge before everyone even started. Now it's mandatory, but like before it was just me in that room, trying to take advantage of the cryo to the float tank, um, using those facilities every day because I have access to it, and I should. Um, and yeah, just learning as much as I can, and documenting it. And I'm still you know, trying to I'm still looking for speaking opportunities, and going and trying to capitalize that kind of part of things. And I've got one lined up for early September, a corporate talk. So I'm super excited for that one. That's going to be fun in Macau. Um, and just, continuing to grow and continuing to evolve. And who knows how many fights I'm going to end up fighting in, or how many wins I'm going to have, how many losses I'm going to have. Like, I really don't know, and I'm not going to hold myself to like I have to win 10 fights in a row and be undefeated for the next 3 years and for me to be successful, like I think my journey so far, with all of its downs, have really helped put a lot into perspective for me, and then just given me the time to develop myself, and being able to share that with people helps them relate to it as well, and put things in a perspective for them as well. So I'm just going to keep going with this and go as far as I can, and just with the sole intention of just trying to be my best and trying to deliver my best, like no matter what that is at any given moment. And everything else, like all the wins and like belts and like whatever, all that stuff, it's not so much a goal. It's really just a byproduct, and the goal should really just to be just the best that you can be, and make no excuses, and be as honest as you can be. And with that, I don't see how success can't just come to you.
It's great that they don't have you locked into the PI, where you can't go anywhere, and you just have to stay there. And it, you know, like the Ultimate Fighter, you've probably seen the show before. People are going crazy, and it's only like 6 weeks. So imagine 6 months if they made you stay there and you could not leave and visit people, and you didn't have your phone, and you know, it would have been a mess.
Oh yeah, 6 months without a phone. Yeah, that'd be definitely a challenge. I think the good thing about, like, I don't know, this group, or like maybe it's a cultural thing. I don't know. I just feel like with this group of Chinese fighters that we have, like there wouldn't really be much drama, honestly. Everyone's just very conservative and like reserved, more than anything. Um, and everyone's just young and you know, wanting to prove themselves, and there's no entitlement at all, you know, here, which is great. Um, and you know, I mean, we've only just started, so who knows what might happen. But yeah, it's, you know, once in a lifetime opportunity, so just gotta run with it and capitalize it as much as I can.
Before we end this one, I just wanted to ask you, like, before you start your first day on Monday, where do you want to be at this end of this 6 months? Of course, you want to be, you know, developed. You want to be much improved. But what else do you want to change about yourself or elevate about yourself? You know, after these 6 months.
I mean, it's all just working on weaknesses, you know, internally and externally, and I, you know, there's so much. I feel like there's just so much room for improvement in a lot of areas, and it really just comes down to me capitalizing on 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 the resources that I have available to me, and making as just maximizing my progress, really, because this is the place to do it. With you know, the 6 months that I have, um, and that's really it. There's no other goal. Like, I'm not being like, oh, I hope in the, you know, next 6 months I'm going to be signed to the UFC. I hope, like, that that doesn't really, you know, it's that kind of just makes it all an expectation. Like, oh, I want to be signed to UFC just because I'm like in this. It's like, oh, I'm entitled to. It's like you're entitled to nothing, honestly. Like, they're gonna give us all this program. They're gonna give us these tools, these resources, and it's really up to us what we make of it. And so if we go out there, we just coast by the 6 months, we might not even make any progress at all. It really depends, like, how you're thinking up here and how you're reacting to, you know, the feedback, criticism, the you know, the sort of, you know, what they're giving, with the stimulus that they're giving us. So really the sole intention is just to capitalize and just to develop as much as I can, and then whatever comes will come. Fight opportunities, contract opportunities, like whatever, whether with this organization, whether with other organizations, like, I don't know. But I just I'm gonna do the best that I can and just learn as much as I can. That's really it.